Hi, I'm Sharia with Reiki Fort Collins, and you can find out more about me and my work in the description box below. Today's topic is about Reiki and this word occult. Now, I was raised in a Christian home, so anytime we encountered anything outside of what was considered part of the Christian doctrine and teachings was an occult belief. An occult was then simultaneously equated to Satan, evil, not so kosher practices, things that could drag you from your faith, things that could potentially harm you because of the evil influences or the dark influences that could happen within those mysterious outside practices. I looked up the definition of an occult, and occult is actually just a word for mystery or hidden teachings, which I thought was kind of interesting considering that could be an umbrella for all kinds of practices, even within Christianity itself. When you think about Yeshua's ability to heal people, that is considered a bit of a mystery in my book, because there's really no description as to how he was able to do those things. The Christian doctrine teaches that he was blessed by God with these abilities. And yet, what was it in his own being that allowed him to perform those miracles? Which is a great mystery. Because if we are all children of God, then there is the potential of all of us having, to some degree, a way to do that within our own lives. When I began my Reiki journey 6 years ago, I was really in a pursuit of understanding myself and understanding my energy and in my spirituality. And sort of at the time, I didn't realize this a search for my own identity. The history of Reiki is very interesting. It comes from Japan. Reiki means spiritual energy. And in Japanese, it has a lot of different connotations, but spiritual energy is probably the broadest term that we have now. And it was as a result of Mikio Usui, who is the founder of modern Reiki, his own connection to his own spiritual energy, his own life force, his own soul. In fact, there is a story that talks about how he went on this meditation and fasting retreat in which at the end of it, he had some kind of divine encounter. And through that divine encounter, whether it was himself or consciousness or the universe or God, he had this ability to bring healing into the lives of the people around him. And through crisis, he was, and not maybe forced, but encouraged in his own journey to teach others what he had learned. There's a lot of varying teachings about why he decided to share this with people. But one of the things is that he really believed in the power of healing, in the power of people feeling good, feeling better in order to express more of who they truly are. And the more we feel connected to ourselves and healed and healthy and whole, the more we can make a difference in the world, the more we are in service to a greater good. So when I think about sort of the juxtaposition of this to the definition of occult, which again is kind of mysterious, it might be kind of dark, it might be associated with evil, if you think about it from a Christian lens. It really, the practice of Reiki is not about that whatsoever. It really is about the pursuit of investigating who we are and who our own light shines and wants to become and is within us. It's the healing of the different layers of our past that then sort of reveals the flourishing of our own innate being. The training itself revolves around connecting to the lineage of Reiki, and this is a big part of Eastern culture In Hinduism and Buddhism, this is a really big part of passing on the legacy of teachings. So in training, there's initiation, and initiation simply means immersing oneself in the energy of the lineage of Reiki itself. And through that initiation or immersion, one opens one's own field to the consciousness that is all that is. Again, if we go back to the definition of Reiki, it means life force. So there's life force that animates my body and your body, the trees, the grass, the mountains, the rocks, the oceans, the animals, the insects, the birds. And there's that field of intelligence that tells the birds how to migrate and tells the fish where to swim and the whales where to go and how we are to heal our own bodies. So the initiation or the training is the opening of that wisdom within us that's already part of who we are. It's just that flourishing open of it. It's that communion. It's that ability to open a greater door into our own awareness of our own connectedness. Thus, the vibration, if you look at it from a vibrational standpoint, is going to be in a place where evil cannot exist or cannot grab onto. And from my own understanding, evil is kind of these darker, denser, lower vibrational places. And if anyone has encountered what they consider evil, they feel it as the lack of light, the lack of vibrational presence, the lack of soul even. So Reiki at its essence is about the flourishing open and the communion with the greater life force and the flow of life. And thus, in my very humble opinion, this is not associated with evil. It is really about the best good of myself, the best good of my client, and really the best good of my community and all who encounter it. And it really is about healing. So if you're someone who is in doubt or has had questions about this, or even if just curious to learn more, please do, and please give it a try. And what I want to say too is find someone who's practicing in integrity. You know, one of the things that I noticed as I have become a practitioner and have encountered many other kinds of practitioners and people is that the vessel in which holds the energy and the communion of that energy or consciousness through that initiation process, every single person is different in how they use it. So if someone is coming into a Reiki training and thinking, I'm doing this for my own egoic power, then they are going to not be in integrity with the intention of Reiki's life force and flow. If you're encountering someone who is of service and who is able to ground and stabilize that energy into their field and be of good and hold the intention of good for another person, then you know that this is going to support you and your journey. So just be aware that while each person who has had Reiki training has had an encounter with the spiritual energy, how they ultimately integrate it and walk in integrity with it is going to be very highly individual. With that being said, again, this is an exploration. And if you are someone who comes from a religious background and you're uncertain, that's okay. There's always room for experience. And experience allows us to step out of our comfort zone and try something for the very first time and to see if it resonates. And at the end of the day, human suffering is suffering. And we're often driven outside of our comfort zone in order to find answers. So just encourage, if you're curious and want to explore, then really do so and know that you're safe. And you're always welcome to call any Reiki practitioner and ask them about their practice, how they were trained. And you will know by their tone, their expression, if they're in their own integrity. And if you're looking for someone who's experienced, find a Reiki practitioner who has been in business for 5 or 6 years. Ask them what their process was for Reiki mastership if they have one, and ask them like how Reiki has changed their life, because that will give you a huge awareness of how it's impacted that person. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Have a wonderful rest of your day.